Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some romance novels. So basically the idea behind today's video was I wanted to do sort of more of a book review style video. I miss doing book reviews. I don't really do them on this channel that much anymore. I know most booktubers don't do them very much anymore because quite frankly, they're the videos that take the most work. They're the videos that take the most planning. And then there's no payoff because no one watches them. So it's a very frustrating cycle, but they're also some of my favorite videos to make. I've seen a couple of other booktubers do a similar thing where they just group together books in a similar genre and do a wrap up of those. And also because I'm starting to read a lot more books each month now that I'm out of school and my wrap ups are becoming super long, I think splitting it up like this and doing it by genre might be helpful. So let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd be interested to know. This video was originally supposed to be me talking about 3 romance books and I kept putting it off and reading more, and we have somehow built up to 6 that we have to talk about today. So I have a really wide variety of experiences with these books too. I have a couple that I really liked. I have a couple that were kind of I have one that I DNF'd. As always, I'll have all of the books linked down below in the description if you want to go learn some more about them, but other than that, let's just get started. So we'll do this in chronological order based on when I read them, which means the first one that we have to talk about is Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. I talked about this in my July wrap up, so I won't go like too much into it here, and I'll link that wrap up down below if you want to see it. This is a whole different topic to talk about, but it's really interesting, this new trend in romance novels and how they're doing these sort of animated covers instead of, you know, like the shirtless guys. It definitely makes the books more accessible to me because I never read the romance novels with like the bare-chested man, but I also feel like it kind of gives you the wrong idea about this book. It kind of looks like a YA novel and it looks like it's going to be all like cute and innocent, and I'm not upset that it wasn't, but I wasn't expecting what I got based on the cover. So Fix Her Up is about Georgie. She's 23 and she's a professional clown. She puts on kids' birthday parties and she's been in love with her older brother's best friend for her entire life. I've already forgotten the main guy's name. Oh my god. Travis. Travis is a famous baseball player who just had an injury and he can no longer play, and he's kind of just wallowing in self-pity at the beginning of the book. Now that he can't play baseball anymore, he's looking for new career options and he's up for sort of a host on a family-friendly TV station, but he has this really bad reputation as a player, and so in order to try and get this job, he and Georgie decide to fake date because Georgie is the baby of her family, and even though she's 23, everyone kind of treats her like a child, and so she thinks being in a relationship will change the opinions of people around her. So I ended up giving Fix Her Up a 3 out of 5 stars. I am new to reading romance novels, so I don't really know how this compares to other books within the genre. I've heard honestly pretty negative things from most people that I know who read romance. I didn't hate this. It was really easy to read. I read it in a day. It was really kind of like a guilty pleasure, trashy, light and fluffy read. I really liked our main character. I thought she was developed really well and I related to her to some degree as also the baby in my family. Like that plot line of her feeling like no one would ever take her seriously was very relatable to me. And I also love characters who are just unapologetically themselves. Like she's weird and she just doesn't care. With that said though, I really didn't like the main love interest. He was very like possessive and aggressive, which I know is like a type in romance novels. Personally, I found it off-putting and I just found him really irritating. The sex scenes were really cringy. His dirty talk was really cringy. Everything made me uncomfortable just because of the way that it was written. I just did not vibe with it very well. And then from a craft perspective, the narrative itself was super messy. There were all of these disjointed subplots and random extra characters who never were developed. The only thing in the entire book that's developed is this main relationship, which makes sense because it's a romance, but it was like she threw in all of these other elements to try and make the book more complex, and it did not work out. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. If you're just looking for something that's fun and trashy and you don't really care about the quality of this, it was a fun book to read. Like, I'm not gonna say it wasn't. I read this like a month ago, but I'm already really fuzzy on a lot of the details, so it wasn't super memorable, but it wasn't bad. The next romance novel that I have to talk about is the Unnie Mooners by Christina Lauren. And this one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars too. This one I liked a lot more than Fix Her Up. This one is a lot cleaner too if you don't like all of the graphic sex scenes and stuff that are pretty common in romance novels. There's not a lot of that in here. This follows our main character, Olive, who is a twin, and her twin sister is getting married, and she absolutely hates the best man, who is the brother of the groom. But when everyone else at the wedding gets super sick and their honeymoon is non-refundable, she and the best man who she hates end up taking the vacation so it doesn't go to waste. And as you can imagine, it's a hate to love romance. They're on this tropical, amazing honeymoon. There's so many good romance tropes in here. We've got the hate to love, we got that there's only one bed, we've got stuck in close quarters together. There's a lot of good things happening in here. It was kind of cheesy, it was kind of ridiculous, but the writing style was so much fun and just so easy to get into. There's something that happens in the book that was a little like unforgivable for me, that made me not want to root for the couple anymore, and that's the make it or break it thing in a romance for me. I need to be able to forgive what the characters forgive. I need to be able to root for this couple, and that's what docked the star for me, because I just couldn't quite get behind it. And I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil you, obviously, but 4 out of 5 stars. Would recommend this one. The next one I have is also by that same author writing duo, and that was Autobiography. This is a young adult romance though. I also gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. I kind of picked it up on a whim because it was available in the Libby app from my library, and again, I ended up reading this in like 24 hours. There's something about this writing style that is just so easy to read and so bingeable, and sometimes you're just in the mood to read something that's really easy to read. This book is about Tanner. He's a senior in high school and he's bisexual, and his family recently moved to this small town that's predominantly Mormon, but his family is not. And so he was out in his old town in California, but here his whole family has kind of decided that they're going to keep it a secret because they don't think he would be accepted. And so he goes into this class with his best friend where the objective of the entire class is to write a novel, and the teacher's assistant is really freaking hot. But he's also Mormon, and so his family and also his religion obviously does not think highly of homosexuality. And so the book is about Tanner falling in love with this Mormon guy and also writing a book about the experience while it's happening. And this book was so touching and cute and just sweet. Like, I feel like that's a totally different kind of romance. You either want the like smutty, steamy, trashy, or you want like a sweet, heartfelt book. This was on that side of the spectrum for me. But yeah, I thought this was really well done. I thought this was really cute. I would recommend this one for sure. Now let's talk about the one that I DNF'd. I could make an entire video about this book, but it would be a rant review and I don't want to make that, so let's do it here. Crashing the A-List by Summer Heacock. I'm actually really disappointed because I requested this arc from the publisher. They were kind enough to send it to me. I wanted to support this author. I wanted to give a positive review of this book. I was really looking forward to it. There's a reason why I requested it. I thought it sounded awesome, and it started out really freaking well. I had such high hopes. I was so let down. So this book follows Clara. I think she's in like her mid-20s, maybe late 20s, and she was a book editor. She's recently been laid off and she's unemployed. She can't find work anywhere. She's living on her younger brother's sofa, kind of humiliated about it, and she takes this trash job clearing out storage units to make some money in the meantime while she's going through this job search. And in one of those storage units, she accidentally stumbles across some really incriminating evidence against a famous movie star, and when she reaches out to him to try and be like, hey, I found this just so you know, he gets the wrong idea and thinks that she's blackmailing him. When they're arguing about it, paparazzi gets pictures of them and thinks they're dating, and the two end up going along with it. So we have the fake dating trope, the hate to love trope, all of the good tropes, and the writing style in this is really good and fun and witty. The writing style was my favorite part of this, so I would definitely give this author a second chance, but this book, going back to what I was saying about one of the other books, I have to be able to root for the couple, and I couldn't. The author did such a good job of making me hate the love interest that there was no coming back. He was so cruel to her and like publicly humiliated her and intimidated her, and just like all of these things that reading this book, it was like I was getting secondhand humiliation from it. Like, you know how some people get secondhand embarrassment? Like, I was getting secondhand like the emotions that our protagonist was feeling. It was making me feel sick to read this book because of how badly he treated her. And there's this huge power imbalance, which makes the whole thing even more screwed up. There's even one instance where he basically has her at his beck and call, and she has to show up whenever he wants to make a public appearance with her with no notice. So she has no way to prepare for these things, and she has an interview. After all of this time of being unemployed, she finally gets her foot in the door at this really important company to her, and he's just like, no, you have to meet me for lunch. And she's like, I have this job interview, I'll come meet you like right afterwards, I can't. And he's like, I don't really care about your personal problems, you have to come meet me. I was so angry. I don't know why that was the breaking point for me, but that made me so freaking angry. The part that I DNF'd it at was exactly halfway through the book because I was waiting to see how the author was going to redeem him. I needed to know how on earth she was gonna turn this into a romance because I was hoping to be pleasantly surprised. I had no idea how she was gonna do it, but if she was gonna do it successfully, I wanted to see how. And the scene where it was clear was like the pivot point of the story. He essentially says like, sorry. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, not okay. That is nowhere near good enough. And when I realized that was going to be the moment where like all was forgiven and we're just gonna go on from here, I was not having it because I was not okay with this. And it just was completely unbelievable to me that she would forgive him that easily. I wasn't having it. And then I saw from some other reviews that he continues to treat her like that throughout the entire book. So I'm glad I DNF'd it. I could not handle it. And then the last two books that I have to talk about, I'm going to lump together because they are in the same series. That is Dead Until Dark and Living Dead in Dallas by Charlene Harris. These are the first two books in the Sookie Stackhouse series, which is what the HBO show True Blood was based on. And the first one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars to. The second one I gave a 2, maybe like a 2.5 or 2.75, somewhere in there, stars to. I really liked the first one. I really didn't like the second one, but I kind of expected that because I've seen the show True Blood, not the whole thing, but I watched it like 8 years ago too, so it's been a while. But I hated the second season. I remember hating the second season and almost stopping watching the show because all of the storylines I had no interest in and I was just so annoyed. I was like, I don't care about anything that's happening. And that's basically what the second book is. So that makes sense. So this series is not well written. It's not high quality, but it's really fun. It's again one of those things where if you just want something trashy and smutty and fast and easy to read, I think they're really enjoyable. I actually think the book is smarter than it appears because it's hidden under the poor writing, the millions of adverbs, the insta-love relationship, but the world building is actually really well done and really smart, and the atmospheric setting, we're set in Louisiana. There's a lot of things that this book does well, and I think it's overshadowed by how like poorly written and just kind of trashy it is, but there's actually a lot more about this book that impressed me than I was expecting. And I actually started rewatching True Blood while I've been reading these books because it's been so long since I've seen the show, and I was curious on how much they changed from the books. Watching the show and reading the books together has been really interesting because they build on each other really well. They don't follow exactly the same storylines, but I think the show did a really good job of building upon the source material and like expanding the world building and stuff. So if you're gonna read these books, I would recommend watching the show. I don't know, they go really well together, it's my point. The second book in the series, I didn't like as much. Like I said, I just didn't vibe with the storyline. Things get weird in the second book, and things get weird in the second season of the show. I would say skip it if you could, but I think you like couldn't get away with that. You'd be too confused. So suffer through it if you can, and then get to the next one. So I'm gonna read the next book in the series. I am enjoying these books. I know the series goes on for a really long time and people say it gets really bad towards the end, but for now, I'm enjoying it. And I wanted a trashy paranormal romance series to read, and right now, this is fitting exactly what I was in the mood for. So yeah, those are all of the romance books that I've read lately. Make sure to let me know down in the comments what you think of this format of video, or let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I would love to hear your thoughts, or recommend me your favorite romance novel that you've read lately because I don't have any on my TBR right now and I'm looking for some more aside from the next True Blood book. But yeah, and bear with me while I figure out where the heck I'm gonna film now. But other than that, if you want to follow me on any of my social media, all of the links are down below in the description, and I'll just see you guys in my next video very, very soon. Bye.
So hit me. So hit me. So hit me. First a confession. With you, I feel a connection. With